Thank you for tuning in to Zim News Beat TV.
We are all here. I know that we ended last year without as many press conferences as I would have liked to brief you. But I had pressing family issues to also attend to at that particular time. I'm glad that by and large it's all over. And I'm back to you. And also the part of the permanent Zimbabwe revolution is back with our president having assumed his duties, his official duties, after a well-deserved leave, which was, of course, punctuated with a lot of statecraft, including regional diplomacy, along the way, as he continues to uplift the name of Zimbabwe among African peers, but also on the global stage. I want to say that the star of our president, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, continues to rise. And it was a remarkable thing recently in Dar es Salaam when two major regional blocs sat together, the East African community and the SADC community, to try to address the issues of our important neighbor, the DRC, and their contentious acrimony with Rwanda. And all the heads of states who were there, including the President Museveni, the doyen of African leadership, says it was only possible because Zimbabwe convened the meeting. Otherwise, they would not have had such a meeting of African heads of states. So here we are, African solutions to African problems, and Zimbabwe being at the forefront of that mantra that we can solve our issues. And we are also very happy that in Mozambique, the situation has calmed down. The president took his office of oath, and the detractors who were clamoring for regime change, Zimbabwe G40 style, are nowhere near, anywhere in Maputo now. Here there are still some residual issues because we have a huge unemployment problem of young people, which is an African problem, and we need to address it. But by and large, we are very happy President Chapo is in charge. By the way, he is the first leader from Mozambique to come from an area contiguous to Zimbabwe. He comes from Sofala. And the last time he was here, he had his moves with Mbira music. You could almost think that he could have been from this side of the border. So I think the relations between the two countries are going to take a very good turn, because our our neighbor, in terms of politics, in terms of our provincial affinities with Mozambique, this is the first time we are aligned. Mozambique is a unitary state. Some come from the north, like Nyusi, and a couple had come from the south for some time. But we are happy that Central Mozambique is now President Chapo, and it is coming at a very timely time, a timely occasion, because the economic nexus, the economic evolution between the two countries is going to get closer and get very, very exciting. The main reason why I'm here today is to address an issue which is topical, but which is perennial, and it is the issue of title deeds. You know that recently our president started issuing title deeds to the beneficiaries of our irreversible land reform from the year 2000. There's been some gnashing of teeth since he started doing that, with the erstwhile holders of white title deeds from the settler colonial era, fretting that maybe the advent of the new title deeds impinges upon the global compensation agreement which they are negotiating with the government. I want, as a Zimbabwean citizen, because they are fellow Zimbabwean citizens, to assure them that our president negotiates in good faith. He negotiates according to the Constitution of Zimbabwe, and the Constitution of Zimbabwe says that they will be compensated for the loss of improvements on the land on which they were removed, not on the title, but on the improvements. Yes, the negotiations are ongoing. We do have budget constraints, but some of the payments have started being given. And the main point is that our president assures our white compatriots in the Global Compensation Agreement that he is negotiating in good faith, and whatever may arise out of that negotiation, which may be the basis of misunderstanding or contention, he is always happy to have it brought on the table so that as Zimbabweans, we do find a common solution to what is essentially a very contentious and difficult issue where history collides with the population matrix of the country and the colonial era injustices meted out to our people. It's not an easy solution, but ZANU-PF has never been shy from addressing very difficult and knotty problems. As a party, we have a history and we think a way will be found. Why am I raising the issue right now? We are aware as a party that since President Trump made an announcement about South Africa, about the land in South Africa, and look, we do have our opinions, but this is a matter which is now topical between two nations, South Africa and Zimbabwe. We do have our opinions as Zimbabwe as a sister ruling party to ANC, but at a time like this, we prefer to keep our opinions to ourselves and try to let diplomacy get a chance to resolve contentious issues between two sovereign nations. So we want to abstain from an engagement in that debate, although there are affinities, but the affinities does not mean there's congruence. There's no congruence between the Zimbabwean land question and the South African land question. The South African land question has been treated as an internal matter between South Africans. We have a different land problem. Ours was a colonial imperial land problem. There is a colonizing power which gave a charter to a private company called BSA Company to come to Zimbabwe and start possessing land. The charter was signed by the Queen of England, Queen Victoria, and it was given to Cecil John Rhodes. And an army was sent here to occupy Mashonaland and Matabeleland, away from Lobengula, our chief, away from Ashayamombe, away from all the other chiefs who would later carry out the resistance against Cecil John Rhodes' marauding pioneer column. So even when we fought, we knew that the legitimacy of this country was impinged upon by Britain. And towards the end of that, when we achieved an armistice, we had to go to London at the Lancaster House Conference to sign an armistice with the imperial power. And they had to restore their governor to come and shepherd the transition process in Zimbabwe, Lord Soames. So the land question in Zimbabwe has got a colonial imperial nature which resides in London. It is not like the South African issue, which is an internal South African affair, because Afrikaners are Africans and we consider them as Africans, and they also want to be considered as Africans. So this is the nuance which is different from the land question in South Africa. The reason we are saying so is that each time there is some rumpus in Washington about Africa, and the president of America is facing the prospect of having to renew the executive sanctions against Zimbabwe about this time of the year. You understand? a lot of excitement starts emanating from opposition circles in Zimbabwe. And I don't know whether I have the news, we have the news day today. You can see the opposition, Mr. Biti. Yeah. He is now starting to make comments about title deeds, about Zimbabwe. And yesterday we know for certain that they convened a meeting in South Africa, at the US Embassy in South Africa, all in an effort at trying to whip up emotions about title deeds and the land in Zimbabwe, so that somehow the oversight, which they believe is an oversight by Trump, when he singled out and called out South Africa, it can be corrected so that Zimbabwe somehow must be found, in the words of the President of America. They just want Zimbabwe on the yoke. They just want Zimbabwe to become the attention of the American president, gratuitously and unnecessarily. Why? Because they believe that if America can do something about Zimbabwe, it can speed up the prospect of them getting to power, sneaking through the back door of foreign support rather than through the front door of electoral politics in Zimbabwe. So these are Zimbabweans who are trying to stir up a situation between Washington and Harare, when Washington, for reasons best known to itself and the American president, did not feel that there was an issue between Zimbabwe and Washington. So we have to put it on record. There are no parallels between the Zimbabwe land question and the South African land question. There isn't. And Mr. Biti, he should stop trying to be peevish. That's what is, this is like a child who always tries to cry when the aunt comes from town. And he knows that the aunt is coming in February because sanctions have got to be removed. So I must somehow get the attention of the American president. And they are also trying to galvanize the Zimbabwean farmers, white farmers, some of them, to become part of this bandwagon. They were being coaxed to go to South Africa and join this movement to say somehow Zimbabwe must be included in the bilateral dispute which is now broken out between Pretoria and Washington. No, we are a sovereign country, our issues are different, and we would like to keep our relations with America as best as they can be, even under the circumstances. And our sincere hope is that President Trump, who is going to be made to remember the executive order of sanctions against Zimbabwe, may actually be made to forget them when the day comes in March, this month, and the executive order is not renewed. This is the ball of contention. This is what's galling Biti. But it's not only him. This agitation also involves Xavier Kasukwere. He is part of this lobbying of the whites in Zimbabwe to try to become part of this nonsensical galvanizing of negative American policy on Zimbabwe. He is involved, Kasukwere, in these frantic efforts. We know because some of the Afrikaners who are engaged in that process, they are not happy at trying to drag the Zimbabwe issue into what is essentially a different problem in South Africa. You may want to recall that Afrikaners are Africans. They do have an affinity for the continent, which has been their home for the past 400 years. That's why they're called Afrikaners. And it is interesting that even when they were being offered to become refugees in America, they're saying, no, we are happy here. We may have our issues, but we are happy in Africa. So some of them have a lot of goodwill. And they are the ones who are saying to Zimbabwe, please, can you keep your dogs at home? We don't want them to come and spoil the issue in South Africa. So we have the inside information coming from those who are in the Afrikaners. And they have an anecdote. They say there are two major peoples of Africa who fought modern wars against the British. the Afrikaners in the Boer War in 1900 to 1904, and they lost. And Zimbabweans who fought in the 1960s and 70s, and they won. So we have had a common enemy before, being fellow Africans with the Afrikaners. It's not difficult to find an affinity with each other on many issues. So they come to us and tell us what some of our mischievous nationals are trying to do, because it is the month of March and February. It is the month of, it's a mad season in politics because of the prospect of the executive order of the American president on sanctions against Zimbabwe being probably let to slide away. This is their fear. So I wanted to make it clear to you that as Zimbabwe, we have no issues which should be dragged into the South African land affair. But more than that, our president, as I said earlier on, he is constantly looking for the optimal way in which the land question can be made to address injustices, to also compensate, but also to make it productive. For some time, we have been looking at models from other countries which we could consider in terms of how our land question can eventually be optimally resolved. Surprise, surprise, there has been an engagement for quite some time, including when the late Parents Shiri, our Honorable General, was the Minister of Agriculture, with, of all countries, Germany. Germany has got a template about land reform which could very much apply to our situation, because the German template of land reform after the unification of Germany in 1989, remember there was East Germany and West Germany, they had to go through a land reform which had to address what had happened, including the communist dispossessions after Germany became part of the Soviet Union. So they've got a layer of contradictions in their land policy, which they had to resolve after the unification. And they created a bank, I think it's called the BVVD, I will give you the name, let me check again, to resolve those issues. And the beauty about their solution was that because there was no finger pointing, there were Germans coming together, it was holistic and inclusive. I think it is called BVVG. It's called the German Land Reform Agency, and it is led by Mr. Hans Egbert von Anmin, I think that's it. He is the one. This land reform program has done good to Germany, and at the end of it, it has resolved all the issues among the Germans from the East and from the West, and from those from the past and from the future. All the conflicting land titles were resolved to the extent that now the bank itself is even profitable. So this solution has been before the Zimbabwe. We are highlighting this is the president continuously looks at the optimal way to resolve land issues in such a manner that we can maintain productivity, raise profitability, increase viability, but at the same time address both colonial injustices and issues of compensation for those who may have bought the land, who may have developed it when they were not the original colonizers or occupiers of the land. This is why I keep emphasizing that the president is acting in good faith. And my appeal to white Zimbabweans, those who are being tempted to go to the G40 bandwagon, is to stop it. Please, let's come and talk at home. Don't try to stir the pot in order to please foreign interests, which are fleeting, because at the end of the day, we still have to confront those problems when the situation has not been properly resolved at home. Let's look for definitive solutions here at home amongst ourselves. So this is our appeal to our white community. Don't be abused by failed politicians of the type of Mr. Tendai Biti and Mr. Kasukwere. Incidentally, they are also trying everything to see whether they can cause commotion within ZANU-PF, the same people. They don't want to form their own parties and build them and disintegrate like they do. And this young man thinks he possesses a party which was founded and grew when he was in his mother's womb, Kasukwere. He thinks he is the owner of that party, and now he's even having the temerity to start calling out for what he considers his morals in ZANU-PF. I do hope that those comrades who are being called as morals by Kasukwere will have the courage to stand up and say, we don't have anything to do with you. Because he's starting to sprinkle some names, including very important, very, very high-level names, to say they are part of his bandwagon. He is desperate to somehow tempt and tantalize America and Trump to come and do something about Zimbabwe. When it was the Biden administration, they knew each other from the time when sanctions were passed in 2002. Biden was one of the signatories of the Zitera bill. Clinton was one of the signatories of the Zitera bill. Obama was one of the signatories of the Zitera bill. So they were comfortable with the Democrats who were in America because they were fellow bandwagoners. They were in the same bandwagon about sanctions against Zimbabwe. Now, Trump is a wild ball. You don't know. So they are fretting about where the dice may fall this time. That's why this sudden agitation, and it is coming at a very wrong time. There was an institution which was so busy stirring up bad politics in this country. It was called USAID. It operated from the American embassy, and it operated autonomously from the American ambassador. It was American foreign policy privatized since 1961. And USAID was the skunkworks for all sorts of chicanery. And I don't know how many people have lost their paychecks. I hope some among you have not lost their paychecks. Because Trump comes and Elon Musk comes, he says, close the door, shut the website. All the cover for nonsensical things, we're doing health this, all the other health that. They are not interested. We know what we're doing. So USAID has been shut globally, and it has a bearing on Zimbabwean politics. So there's a lot of gnashing of teeth for those who were beneficiaries from the USAID. What am I saying? Is that the regime change agents in Zimbabwe are on the defensive. They've got their foot at the back because of what has happened to USAID. That also explains why this assumption of energy in the appearance of being Humpty Dumpty on issues which are ZANU-PF, including, of course, trying to abuse one of our comrades whom they are constantly putting on television for this or for that. Maybe some of the issues are now sub judice. I can't comment on it, but all I can say is that some of the intelligence which is being given is definitely wrong. He mentioned the other day that my son was incarcerated by the president. It's not true. I told you I had an interview with Newsday. I know who was behind the incarceration of my son in a false incarceration in May last year. And I know what the reasons why it was being done, the political reasons why it was being done. The president had nothing to do with it, and he had to come back and undo that thing, but undo it in a manner which did not arouse the anxieties that he may be interfering with the judiciary. So it had to be a long, drawn-out affair. But me, my wife, who is the Minister of Women Affairs, we know that the president had nothing to do with it. So Bombshell is wrong. Comrade Bombshell is wrong to try to accuse the president. It's not true. Rather, the people who are telling him to go on televisions are the ones who are behind the persecution of my son. So I'm surprised for a field combat officer He normally has got very good intelligence because he wouldn't have survived the war as a guerrilla fighter if his intelligence was faulty. I don't know why he is being misled by being given chicken feed. It's in intelligence per circles. What is being given is called chicken feed. That my son was incarcerated by the president and that I should not have a relationship with the president because he incarcerated my son. It's not true. I want to put it on record. And I just want to say, I worked with him very well when we were in the War Veterans Association. He was in charge of my business unit. And together we are the ones who pushed for Manise, the steel plant, to be there with him. He was the promoter of that business unit. That steel plant today is making ArcelorMittal South Africa close. We are now the champions of steel in Southern Africa. I was at ArcelorMittal 2-3 weeks ago, meeting with the executives. We are now looking at how the two countries' steel sectors can coalesce because Zimbabwe has stolen an edge in terms of steel production in the sub-region, perhaps in sub-Saharan Africa. I did that project with a lot of support from the war veterans. It is one of the reasons why we fell out with Mugabe, because he didn't want that project since 2014. Comrade Geza was my team, was my business development manager. All I can say to him, we are making new headway about Manise. We are going to become a major steel fabricator downstream for Southern Africa. A lot of widgets shall be made in Zimbabwe for the Zimbabwean market, for the regional market, and for the global market. And the South African car industry, which uses a lot of steel, is salivating at the prospect of having good quality virgin steel from Zimbabwe. And you know the South African car industry is big. So there are very good reasons why we may come together with South Africa and make the railways talk to each other, make the roads talk to each other, have a common tariff regime between the two countries. Because pound for pound in the whole world, there is no region which should produce steel cheaper than Southern Africa. All the resources for making steel in Southern Africa are within proximity. Our competitors are China. They have to get their steel from Brazil, 12,000 kilometers away. They've got to get their iron ore from Australia, 8,000 kilometers away. They've got to get their coals, their iron ore from South Africa, 10,000 kilometers away. They get some of their nickel from Indonesia, 4,000, 6,000 kilometers away. And China still becomes the cheapest steel producer in the world because of their cheap power, energy which they have. In Southern Africa, not only are all these things within proximity, and I will surprise you, at Manise, the mine is 7 kilometers from the blast furnace. 7 kilometers from the blast furnace. So in terms of input costs to produce steel, no country should be better than Zimbabwe. And the coking coal is only 500 kilometers away from Hwange. And if we have a straight line, it can even be shorter, between the Manise, and it will come, that railway line. So if we've got all these ingredients for making steel within close proximity, and then we have the Zambezi River with all its cataracts from Victoria Falls to Pandankua and Barajem in Mozambique, using the same water several times to generate electricity. Then we have the Cabo Delgado gas in Mozambique and maybe the prospect of Mzarabani gas. So we should also be able to match energy costs, even outmatch China. So if we work together with South Africa, we should dictate the price of steel on the global market. This is the direction which our President Ramaphosa are taking, and it will be the main agenda of the new year. How do we integrate our two economies using the steel industry? Because there is a template in history. 3 times Germany and France fought along their border for Alsace and Lorraine because they were fighting for coal and steel and iron ore. 1870, 1914, 1939. 1951, after the Second World War, they saw their folly. They decided to have a Franco-German steel union, and they started cooperating. The EU today comes out of that union. So we have got some good things to learn again from the Germans. We want South Africa and Zimbabwe to work together in the steel sector. And we have also the Mozambican side bringing in the logistics, just like Rotterdam was bringing the logistics to the steel industry of Europe. So this is the way we want to go. The agenda of the president is going to shift away from this useless hit about who should be successor on that, because that was resolved at the Bulawayo conference. And if ever there is a way to go, it will be another congress by the party. As the president said, he will not anoint. But we don't want to be given agendas by people who want to foist succession agendas as a perpetual item agenda in ZANU-PF and cause confusion. No. The president wants to go back to work. And you saw it in his minister's address when he opened cabinet a few days ago. So this is where we are going with the president. It is to make sure that we refocus. We have to address the burning issues which will make Zimbabwe be a modern country. And because steel is to what countries are, food to human beings is steel to nations or countries. We now have steel. There's nothing which will stop Zimbabwe from going forward. We are also looking at the prospect of forming a business council, a SADC business council, and we are going to tap on the global exposure of renowned Afrikaner businessmen, because they are Africans. Some of them have done well. Elon Musk has done well. Koos Becker, the one behind Tencent in China, has done well. We have many others, Andre Pina, who works for Space Shuttle. It was the Space Shuttle in America. This is a cadre of African businessmen from this continent. We have done well. So we would want to tap on the success of the Afrikaners on the global stage. But this time we want them to apply their expertise to make sure that Africa gets the capital which it needs. We want them, Afrikaners, become the avatars of capital for Africa. And we are working on having a high-level SADC business council which may include the likes of Johan Rupert. You know that each time you are in the international duty-free shop, you see a lot of those brand names. They belong to a company called Richmond from Switzerland. The owner is Johan Rupert from South Africa. This is the success of Afrikaners in business at the global stage. And we want them to be part of the new African success, because Africa needs capital. We need capital in Africa. So these are I'm giving you pointers, because these are matters which the president is very much alive to when he talks with his South African counterpart, also when he talks with his Mozambican counterparts. We want the development agenda back, not the useless noise about who should be succeeding from where in ZANU-PF, as if we have a Congress, and and the president says, if you're eligible, go to the Congress. Don't want to be anointed. Kasukwere wants to anoint somebody from outside. He's not even maybe a member of ZANU-PF. We won't allow that. So by and large, these are the issues which I felt I had to address. I strayed into other areas, but the main thing is that we want our white population to keep faith with His Excellence about the Global Compensation Agreement. We don't want them to be strayed away from the good faith which is necessary to make that process succeed. We don't want them, especially by fellow travelers who are in the CCC, errant CCC, but also some ambitious miscreants who used to be ZANU-PF are now G40s. We don't want our white population. They should keep faith with the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. And we should work together in good faith to look at optimal solutions so that land in Zimbabwe can resolve historical issues, address compensation issues, and deliver prosperity to the people of Zimbabwe. Because I was being told by the German expert I told you, I referred to you earlier on, from that BVVG. He says there are two countries whose agricultural soils are known for their fertility. One is Ukraine, which is under landmines, and the other one is Zimbabwe. Our land productivity is legendary. It is the staff of agronomists at some of the most prestigious institutions of tropical agriculture in the world, including the Dutch Tropical Institute of Agriculture. Zimbabwean soils and their productivity are legendary. We want them to deliver that prosperity to the people of Zimbabwe. So on that note, I want to say we are very happy with you coming along. And by the way, Elon Musk is now a cabinet minister in Trump's government. Go back when the issue of Starlink was alive. Our president negotiated and we got Starlink in Zimbabwe. Direct, not through a switch of a particular gentleman who wanted to become the agent of Starlink in Zimbabwe. The argument for my president was saying, well, if Starlink comes like the sun from God, and if Starlink comes like rain from God, why should it come through the switch of a certain particular cellular company? I am the one who is elected. That's why he signed the license himself, because he is the representative of the people to God in Zimbabwe. Because Starlink is like descending on Zimbabwe like God's gift. So let the man who is elected be the one who is the signatory to the license. So Elon Musk is probably very happy from a business point of view with Zimbabwe. His company is doing very well. I hope all of those who are in rural areas now can also have to Starlink, and very soon I'm told Starlink will be coming even on our SIM cards. You won't even have to have that, to have a landing pad. So we do have somebody who is in the cabinet of Trump who may not be unnecessarily be unhappy about Zimbabwe. And this is what is galling those in the opposition and in the G40 who felt that they had a red door into Washington when the Democrats were in charge. Just as well, that woman Harris lost. We in ZANU-PF are happy about her loss. I thank you.
Are there any questions?
One day. I think I've said enough. Remember, Runesu is my comrade. Since 1975, we were together at Chimoyo, in Mozambique. We trained together, we fought together. He went for additional training in Romania. I went for additional training in Yugoslavia. And we worked very well together. I just am now, I've got a lot of angst about the way he's being abused by people who obviously have got an agenda. And like I say, my appeal to him is that we have unfinished work in the steel sector. The prospects are just opening up. Manize, he started production. There's a lot which is going to change about the life of the people of Zimbabwe. Young people are going to be busy producing steel products for the global market, because all they now need is the machines from Japan, from Korea, from China, from Turkey. With Turkish delegations here, they want to do steel production in Zimbabwe. These are modern, high-quality jobs for our young people. Mbari will soon be working from 7 to 5. And then people go to relax. And on Friday, they get their paychecks and they go and enjoy in nightclubs. We will be having a workforce, an urban workforce, back again because of what's happening in the steel sector. So, Comrade Bombshell, I don't know the other issues which may be bothering you, but definitely we, the war veterans, always remember the good work which you did, and we don't want you to be abused. Bombshell, mazvitiramisa musateere mapenzi vari kukusainzesai, ndo zvandiri kutaura. And mutaurwa neshamwari, iye anonditaura futi kuti ndiri shamwari yake. I think makanzwa mavhindi akanza, my friend, Comrade Mutangwa, Christopher Mutangwa. So, I've got angst about what is happening to him. That's all I can say. And those who are abusing him, I want to add, most of them vanga vasiri kuhondo. Vamwe vacho vakanotrena kuLibya vari vamuzorewo, vakakunyeba kuti vari macomrades. Ivo vakauya kuno ku1980, vaenda kuLibya 1979. Ndo vari kutenderera vachitenderera even pano papati headquarters vachizviti tiri macomrades, vachida kunyeba kutora history yevamacomrades echokwadi saBombshell, to ride on his coattails as a genuine comrade and abuse him. Vamwe vacho ndokutaurirai, hondo yanga yari kuMozambique, vakazouya kuMozambique vachibva kuTanzania kutraining. Wanga vari kutraining kuTanzania hakufiwi, kutraining school kuna Chingwe hakufiwi. Kwatakanga tiri kuMozambique kuFranduku kunofiwa. So some of them vakaita survive vari kunze vasiri muhondo who attended the war but did not fought it are the ones vari kuda kuita abuse their titles as comrades. In fact, for your own information, that was what was the main problem in 2017. An attempt to usurp, to remove the leadership of the army, the war leadership of the army. Vakanga varwa vari kuMozambique nevamwe vakanga vari kuzvikoro zvetraining kuTanzania. I won't mention my names, but one of these days zvichabuda. We have an army which fought, it has integrity, it is committed to Zimbabwe people, and it will always stay committed to Zimbabwe people. But every day, vekuarmy vazoti, vapi vekuarmy vazoti vamunoziya vanhu vada kunyebera kunge we know that army because some of us never left Mozambique from day one in 75 when the war started. Ichitangwa nevanhu vakabva kuTanzania vakauya neship inonzi mapinduzi 700 vakati traina isusu vakauya kumusha kuzotanga hondo vabva kumugagao. Ndo maheroes atinoziva vanhu vehondo. But everybody vakangoti vakapfekedzwa uniform mazuvano vakuda kuzvita hatibviri kunge mageneral. Takairwa hondo iyi vedu tinoiziva. We know each other. Mafa white farmers neshona white farmers varimi vemuZimbabwe vechirungu muri kutaurirana napresident pane nyaya yeglobal compensation agreement. Muri kutaurirana semaZimbabweans. Tine godo rekuti nyika yakakuunzai munomu iriyo yaitonga mazuva ayo yainzi Britain, iriyo yakakutumai, yakasimuka yokutizai imi. Saka iye zvino sevanhu vagara muZimbabwe, sevanhu vechizvarwa chemuZimbabwe, tiri kutaurirana pachedu kuti dai taita sei tawirirana. Musaseenzeswe nanabiti nanakasupwere vane hondo dzavo dzekuti dai America yaramba yakadzvinya huru yakabata huro paZimbabwe. Tasvika muna March gore rino, president weAmerica ari kutarisirwa kuti masanctions aya anonzi eZimbabwe angangodropwa akakanganwa musi iwoyo kana achitamba hake golf Mr. Trump angangokanganwikwa. Saka vari kutya anabiti kuti pamwe president weAmerica angakanganwa. Saka vari kuedza kumuvhurumutsa kuti wewe kune masanctions eZimbabwe dai waasaina. Ndosaka varoda kunokumbudzana nemi varungu vomuZimbabwe kuti muende munoseenzeswa kupinda nyaya dzekuSouth Africa dzavari kunetsanawo nenyaya dzeland. DzekuSouth Africa dzakasiyana nedzedu. South Africa haina kumbogara iine colonial power. Isu muno muZimbabwe taive colonial power inonzi England, Britain, United Kingdom. Ndo yatiine godo nayo. Ngatinadziridzei nyaya dzedu pachedu chakafungidza dzimba chii matenga. Thank you. Does it make you happy? Thank you. I've issued a statement about that already. It's on record. And I'm sure that our disciplinary organs of the party assist with the matter. It's not my domain, and I don't want to jump ahead of the competent party organs which handle that matter. So that's why I was prepared to talk about my past with Comrade Bombshell, to talk about what we have done with steel, but I was not prepared to delve into these other topical issues. Thank you. Okay, Chichu, for you. This letter is written to the executive of Zimbabwe Dinson Company, the one at Maniza. It is coming from an organization called Top 100 Emerging Global Business 2025. This month, end of this month, 28 February to 1st March, they are giving awards. Do you know where they are being given? The House of Lords in London. And who is one of the qualifiers? Dinson Steel, Zimbabwe. Top 100 emerging global business 2025. These are the strides which President Mnangagwa is making for this country. This is at the House of Lords. This is not in Beijing, China. No, this is at the House of Lords in London. So let's not distract our president from doing things which Africa has never seen before. This is what he's doing. You can check. I'll give it the website. I will probably be going there because I've been part of this project with the president, the steel project, since 2014, this project. This is big. When I tell you that ArcelorMittal in South, you know how many trucks are leaving Manise every week to go to South Africa to deliver steel per week? 150. You understand? 150 trucks per week going to South Africa to deliver steel from Zimbabwe. The shoe is a major security institution wanted to close Manise. The accusation, preposterous. They are not producing steel, they are digging gold and smuggling because they are Chinese. I mean, chemistry becomes Chinese. You put gold nuggets in steel billets. Makambo you know the periodic table. But an organization actually descends upon Manise and starts threatening everybody, they left, right, and center. A project which the president has been promoting since 2013. He was furious about it, and just like over my son's issue, and maybe over that issue, the axe has fallen on some of the bureaucrats who thought they were bigger than the president. You saw bureaucrats in certain very high positions. The president is aware. I thank you.
For these and more stories, tune in to Zim News TV.